Hi, I'm Maria Ingold. I'm a CTO in video technology, and I'm here at Connected Media IP at the NAB Show 2019. I'm joined by Devra Prywes, who is the Chief Product Officer of Applicaster. Welcome.
Great, thank you. It's great to be here.
So how have you found Connected Media IP so far?
It's been a great experience. I've really enjoyed taking in a lot of the debates, a lot of the panel discussions, walking around, discovering new tech. In my world, because Applicaster runs an app management platform, I'm always on the lookout for new marketplace partners who can continue to add functionality for our customers, and there's plenty here.
So can you tell me just a little bit more about Applicaster? You do an app management platform.
Sure. So Applicaster is a SaaS app management platform. Our product is called Zap. And customers, especially in the media space, use us and use our platform to make beautiful apps for mobile, OTT, and connected TVs. We wrap native SDKs with a pluggable infrastructure, and this allows us to make a plugin once and have it scale across a suite of apps for customers.
What kind of challenges are you seeing that your customers are facing?
The media space is changing faster than ever. I'm giving a presentation later today where I've put together a timeline of the evolution of video. So the dates are American because we're here in the States, but the first TV transmission was sent in 1927, which is fewer than 100 years ago. Right? We've really been having television content now for not even 100 years. But in the last 20 years is when we've seen this proliferation of platforms, new formats, the digital revolution. There's so much for media executives to keep track of and stay on top of. This change is a constant, but it creates a lot of FOMO, or fear of missing out.
Yes.
Because what platforms do media executives need to include in their strategies? Right, 3D TV would have been a mistake. VR headsets, we'll see. We'll see how those scale. A lot of the platforms are well established. We see, apps across all of these. But what about the Internet of Things? Do I need a strategy for the screen on my refrigerator? These are all things that is turning media on its head and creating a whole host of new challenges. With all of these new devices, you also have more content than ever before. There was research from FX Studios in 2016 where over 150 scripted television series launched that year alone, 100 of which were on streaming platforms. Facebook has released data, 100 million hours of content watched every single day. On YouTube, it's 1 billion hours of content, and billions of apps have been downloaded. So now it's about surfacing your content, kind of going back to basics and forging that relationship with your users so that they seek you out. They don't settle for good enough, for something that might be interesting to watch, that they are actually driven to your content. So this connection has become a currency, and I'm calling this the connection economy.
Oh, that's good, I like that.
Thanks. So some of the challenges that the media industry is experiencing is how to make sense of all this, how to future-proof their delivery strategies. And in my world, I'm a little more comfortable because the way that we've built Zap with this pluggable infrastructure, shiny new tools, shiny new UI, new backend providers. These are all plugins in my world. So I know that my customers are able to adapt to change quickly because we've created an architecture to facilitate that.
You talked about strategy a couple of times in there. So how do media companies go about defining their app strategy?
Well, one way that I think media companies should go about defining their app strategy,
right? You should.
is this will all sound very reasonable and common sense, but I think that everyone is so busy. There's so much going on that I think very often media executives are thinking about how do I take advantage of a new platform and make money on it. But this monetization needs to be earned by building meaningful relationships. It makes the audience that much more valuable. So step one is truly to set your goals. In your ecosystem of audience management tools, of distribution tools, an app is very special. An app is direct to consumer, right? The media company can own that relationship. You don't cede it to Facebook, you don't cede it to Google, you don't cede it to a cable company. You own that relationship. Although Facebook and YouTube and broadcast are all parts of the ecosystem and important parts of the ecosystem. So step one is set your goals. Very often it can include to drive revenue. It can include, if you're a traditional established media company, how do I extend the ROI of the content that I have? How do I inform and entertain around the clock? How do I grow my audience? And for larger brands that have a family of apps to manage, that management can become quite complicated. You need to create a consistent brand experience across all of your platforms because users are migrating different platforms and different devices over the course of any given day, and they expect a consistent experience, and they expect the brand to be able to track them. So these are all different objectives that an app can help solve. Once you've decided what you want to focus on, step 2 would be to architect your app. Design it. What functionality do you need to have? And you need to look forward. You need to future gaze and think about all of the iterations and functionality and monetization systems that you'll want to be able to incorporate and plan for it now. Step 3 is to launch and start driving your audience. And this is very often where people start talking about an end-to-end solution. And I'd like to disavow the industry of this term because end-to-end implies there is an end. And unless you're planning on firing a large part of your customer base, there isn't an end. There's a series of cycles. So the beginning of this cycle is to start using your ecosystem to drive your audience. Everywhere that you're promoting your brand and your content, you need a strong call to action to download your app. And you need to make it easy and include links, let them know where to find it, make it as easy as possible. The next step is to nurture that audience, right? How do you serve them? How do you serve your audience like you do your customers? How do you have engaging UI? How do you keep your content refreshed? How do you add fun, engaging things for them to do? How do you iterate on your offering to make sure that you are giving people a reason to come back? And then the last step, step 5, is monetization. But now you've built up a really loyal and established audience for which you can charge higher CPMs. They're more valuable. This is possibly the most valuable audience of your entire ecosystem. So bring in your ad sales teams. Include the app as part of your packages. Bring in other teams in the business. Bring in the marketing team, this innovation team that so many companies seem to have, and use them to create interesting experiences, new pages and surfaces to sponsor. Let them be part of this value exchange. Let your advertisers be part of this value exchange and sponsor new augmented reality or other innovations for your users. And then it's lather, rinse, repeat. Drive more audience, serve them, monetize them, and then every 6 to 12 months, you'll want to do a strategic check-in, check the goals that you set in step 1, and make sure that they still make sense for your business.
I agree that the first thing to start with is goals. That's always very useful.
Absolutely.
So you're also showcasing something here at the NAB show. Do you want to tell us what you're doing?
We are. We're giving demos of our platform Zap. They've been going really well. People seem to love all of the functionality that we offer. And I position it like Legos. We've distilled down to atomic design. And in a box of Legos, there's probably 10 to 20 pieces, from the little circles to the long rectangles. We've approached an app in a component way like that as well. So we don't use templates, but rather we have the 10 standard components that people can use that can be mixed and matched with different designs and different cell style families applied to them to create a really beautiful UI experience, or we can accept full screen plugins for a more custom experience. Partners can come in, they can upload their assets, change their colors, really make it look unique and personal and customized for their brand. And then we take people through our marketplace, which is where we house hundreds of plugins of third parties. I'd like to own as few lines of code as possible. We really encourage partners to make their own plugins, clients to add their own proprietary tech. I call it a low ego marketplace. We encourage anyone to make the plugin that you need, which adds to our ecosystem, which adds to our functionality. So our customer set includes large traditional media, television networks, publishers, film distributors, as well as new media companies that have built their presence on social, on Facebook, on YouTube, on digital properties. So they all bring new functionality to the mix, which then becomes available to our ecosystem. We then are also showcasing a recent innovation really loved by some of our larger customers, which is our build from existing app button. So this really helps with time to market. This is where brands that have large families of apps, television network. They might have different apps for each channel, for different verticals, even for different characters or properties. But they are all run by the same providers. They might all use Firebase Analytics or Google Ad Manager or the Bright Cove player. Whatever is powering the tech stack can all be duplicated, literally in our case, with the push of a button. The app will build in minutes, and then they can rearrange the front end, bring in new feeds to customize it for whatever property. So this really helps them scale, manage their plugins, manage across all of their platforms, and stay sane through this whole process.
I like the stay sane bit. That's very helpful.
It's a goal. It should be one of the goals.
It's definitely one of the goals. Thank you so much for joining us here at Connected Media IP, and I can't wait to hear what you've gone on to do next year.
All right, thank you. It's been wonderful to be here.